This episode is brought to you by Bellator's Publishing, bringing stories to the world that last forever.
Today on Faithfully Fantasy.
I don't know what Maren's gift is, but Kat could very well become the Queen of Tyrrendor at some point. The he will choose you doesn't have to be Xaden.
Could be Bodhi, maybe.
Could be, or it could be, I don't even think it could be Auric. Because he sent Garrick away. Somebody must be babysitting him.
Has to be Bodhi because he's the one who can counteract the shadows if they go under control, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I believe there actually was Andarna, the one who chose Violet first. And my proof is going into Fourth Wind, chapter 10, because hello and welcome to Faithfully Fantasy,
The husband and wife podcast talking all things Onyx Storm.
I'm JC.
And I'm Sean.
Today we're covering chapters 9 through 11, and just heads up, this episode contains a spoiler for the book, so if you haven't read it, proceed with caution. We'll also be using adult language, so listener discretion is advised.
We will possibly also have spoilers from anything that Rebecca Yarros has said or been questioned about since the release of the third book.
If you love our content and want even more, check out our subscription plan. You'll get exclusive monthly content, early access to episodes, and a completely ad-free experience. You can subscribe directly on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, but for the best value, visit faithfullyfantasy.com to find the perfect plan for you.
We've also started to get really excited about our upcoming deep dive into Quicksilver by Callie Hart from July. If you want to be part of our buddy reread and join the Quicksilver Fae and Anxiety group chat that will run up to July, then drop us a note on Instagram. We've also added a new channel to the Discord. Think news, theories, memes, and general Kingfisher chat. In the meantime, though, we've got you covered during your Onyx Storm hangover, and there is so much to cover today.
And without further ado, let's get into the squad brief.
Squad brief. We are going back to Samara, this time not to visit Shadow Daddy, but to see the shadow of destruction of the outpost after the Wyvern attack. We have a group sleepover in Xaden's old bedroom, where Violet is having another nightmare. Cliffsbane is under attack, and of all the things to say, she tells Kat that she will be chosen by Xaden as the Queen of Tyrrendor. Newhall is under attack and Maren's family are in danger. We vote to fight and find the town destroyed, and the silver-haired Venin is waiting for Violet. We get trapped in a tornado which takes out not one but 2 dragons. No, not 10. Garrick crosses an impossible distance and stands by our side. Theophanie wields lightning without even raising her hands, and we feel outmatched in every way. But, abruptly, she leaves us alive. 20 hours later, we're back at Basgayath being mended by Brennan. Phew, the twin boys are safe. And they'll be taken to Tyrrendor. General I Have No Son, Aetos, has a tantrum because nobody is afraid of him. Xaden demands to be alone with Violet, and we end the chapter on a smooch.
Okay, and now let's start with the history class. History and current events are tied as one leads to the other. Let's dive in and see what we can glean about the future.
Chapter 9.
Chapter 9. Epigraph.
Epigraph. Calling cadets into active service in times of war may only be authorised by the Commanding General of Basgayath. Article 8, Section 1, the Dragon Riders Codex.
Okay.
So, General I Have No Son, Aetos, is now the big boss.
Yes, he's the command of Basgayath.
Yeah, so we know that with this epigraph, we learn that it's only the general that can do that. We know that Lilith did it, but she only did it for 3rd years. She never sent 2nd years out into battle, and she only put them at the outposts. So she never actually sent them into active service. I think it was one of either Heaton or Emery wasn't it, that had said, I've lost count of the amount of times we've been sitting in the outposts while the riders go out to fight. So basically they're just kind of manning the decks. Aetos has been in a few days. He's been in charge a few days, and he's already sending second years out to fight.
Yes.
Like, it just shows what an arsehole he is. Also wonder if there's a link to Theophanie here, because it is only he that could do that. Obviously, we know that Panchek is in with the Venin. Panchek is a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have passed on the information to Panchek, and Panchek then passed it on to the Venin, who then passed it on to Theophanie. Or there's the potential that General Aetos has a link to Theophanie. I tend to think he doesn't, because I don't think he's important enough. I think the whole premise of these few chapters of how no one gives a shit about what General Aetos is saying.
Mm-hmm.
De Grenzy doesn't, Garrick and Xaden don't. Then later on in the, or was it earlier on in the scenarium when we first found out about Quest Squad?
Yeah, that was earlier.
Yeah, Aetos, like, they were like, get out, you don't have any authority here. Like, basically just no one gives a shit about what he's saying. I think he would like to think he is important, even with the Venin, but they just don't give a shit. I think they're listening to Panchak.
You know, something that I was thinking as well. Yes, we had a lot of things indicated the Aetos is the bad guy, he's with the Venin. But what about if maybe he's actually not with the Venin? He may be just a bad guy, an asshole. Or actually he has no connection with the Venin. Even when, yes, we see then maybe the first Venin that tried to kill Violet was repeating exactly the same sentence that he was saying, which is why it links to the Venin. Panchek, we know by the end of the book, officially he was with the Venin. With Aetos, we had not that confirmation yet, and then we are like so sure that he is with them. There will be like a big twist if he is not. He's just an asshole and a bad guy, and they were the Venin using him.
Yeah, I kind of like. I do really love the theory that he's experimenting and he's building super soldiers and he's doing something with Second Wing. Yes. I really love that theory. I would just like it if he was actually a nobody, because you'd be like, ugh, he's just like that kind of, he's got little general syndrome and nobody thinks he's important. So he's just getting like more and more like a Jack Russell, just yapping and yapping and yapping and making people do stuff that just has absolutely no material importance in the real world.
Yeah.
I don't know, what's the opposite of a redemption arc?
Yes, maybe just taking that much importance that we give into the character and then find out that he actually
it's
is
just not important at all. I would
just
love that.
It's somebody like from the Venin side using him, but he is actually nobody there.
But the interesting thing is, if Melgren were to know that nobody gives a shit what General Aetos says, why did he make him the General of Basgiath? Did he even? Or does the king have a say in it? Like, is there a reason why you would put somebody at Basgiath who has absolutely no authority?
The only thing that comes to my mind is that he was so close to General Sorangel before. They might think, okay, they're being so close that he might know exactly how to run the place.
He knows how to do the budget.
Yeah.
Which is what Lilith was like, do you think this place runs itself? No. She has to do the budget every April. Maybe there's a reason why they put him in, and it's because no one gives a shit. Maybe like they know that they can do whatever they want to with Basgiath if he's in charge, because he's got absolutely no authority. So we arrive at Samara after quite a long flight, 20-hour flight or something.
Yes.
And it's an absolute shit show. Like, bodies, healers in the courtyard.
Yeah, destruction everywhere.
Yeah, there's no Mender there. So, obviously, Menders are quite rare, which we only know of Brennan and Nolan, which is kind of a once in a generation, I would say, because Nolan's nearly 80. So, it's actually skipped a generation.
Yes, but I think there's a mention of another Mender. They was like sent to our outpost, so yeah, there's a few.
There's probably some, but they're not like fire wielders. They're not terrible.
No, they're rare, but they're not as uncommon as other signal
Just
like
until
Shadow
then.
Wilder. Yeah.
But there's a hole in the wall. And
Mm-hmm.
Violet says a dragon-sized hole in the wall. And Andarna's like, it's a wyvern. It's obviously going to be a wyvern. So I wonder why Rebecca Yarros puts those two things so close together. It's like, hang on, are we supposed to think that dragons and wyvern are the same? Are we thinking that the dragons aren't the good guys? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like more than a coincidence that she's put that line in. It doesn't feel like filler. It seems like she's trying to tie those two together somehow.
Yes, because a girl so clever as Violet, should think straight away, yeah, that was done by a wyvern. But I don't know if I should think that maybe it was a dragon who dies, maybe. Like, how do we know as well that it was actually a wyvern? So, yes, we arrived to Samara. The first thing they had to do is just to find who is in charge of the place. So we found out the one who was in charge is Lieutenant Colonel de Grincy. That he can't believe that Aetos is the general of Asgaeth. So for me, it's like, yeah, maybe this guy knows Aetos. He can't believe that he actually get that role, which for all of us was a surprise as well, because we were like pretty sure it would be Panchek.
Yeah.
So it could be like maybe another reference that Aetos shouldn't be there.
Could it be the reason Panchek went to the Venin? Because we know that Panchek had ambitions to have Lilith's job.
Yes.
We know that he ultimately wanted to be Melgren, because the first time we saw him in Fourth Wing, Violet basically says that, doesn't she? Or is somebody else that says it? And Violet says he would never get the job.
Yeah, I think she was talking with Rihanna by then. Yeah, it was when they crossed the parapet.
Yeah. What if the reason, so he wanted the power, he wanted to be the general of Basgaia, Melgren didn't give it to him, he's still commandant, he can't get promotion. So it's like, fuck you all, gonna go and give all this information to the Venin.
Yeah, it kind of feel like that. There's just one thing that made me think that Panchek has been from...
the Zolia attack.
Yes, exactly. It happened exactly what he said that he will do. That's the thing for me, linked with the Venom. But it feels pretty much that he went rogue after all these things that happened with Aetos as a general of Basgaia.
Yeah.
But we don't know if maybe they're two that they still may be together somehow, working together.
Yeah.
Because we see we will see now. There's maybe like a link between Aetos and Theophanie as well. They may be working together.
Yeah, I would think Panchek could be the person that's running between the two.
Sure.
De Grenzy seems good now, doesn't he?
I wouldn't say good, but he just feel like fair. The first thing they surprise Aetos get a job. Second thing they surprise is the Aetos apply the Article 8 of the Battle of the Codex to send cadets to war. And then he's the one who said, well, the information that he has is not being updated because everything that happened here happened already. So we don't need people here
nobody's even telling Aetos what's going on. He is of such little importance that they're not telling him. Or Aetos already knows he's sending him anyway because he needs them to be near New Hall.
Yes.
For that attack.
So it can go that way, that either he doesn't know what's going on actually, he's useless as a general, or he knows, but he doesn't care because he has his own private plans.
Yeah, I do feel like De Grenzy was built up in Iron Flame to be like this really hardball, absolute a-hole, because he was having people fight for a weekend off, wasn't he? He was like, they were his rules.
People in cages as well.
People were in cages, but I don't know how much of that was actually De Grenzy and how much of that was Varish, because Varish was there, but he got sent away, and it might have been just too short a time for De Grenzy to change the way that things were done. Like, even though he's in charge, like, a culture is built, isn't it, by the people on the ground, and if Varish is on the ground, like, that could be why
Yeah, you can't just change stuff just because.
Not overnight.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does feel. I see what you mean, but it did feel a bit of a change to me for Degrenzi in between Iron Flame and Onyx Storm. So Kat and Maren look like they've been through a hurricane. Weather is a big theme in these next few chapters, so I thought that was an interesting placement. Traeger can't quit yawning, so he's obviously really tired. We're starting to get to know Traeger a little bit, just enough for us to be moderately upset when he gets shot. Yeah, whether he's there, and moderately upset when he gets run through with an arrow. The same goes for Riddick. So Riddick is exhausted, but he's basically holding Violet up at this point. This to me is the start of Violet really relying on Riddick. I know we had him a little bit when the Venin were trying to break Jack Barlow out of prison, but he has, he's supporting her, he's holding her up. Xaden's not there. He feels like the next Liam.
That he's there just to protect her.
Well, he's just growing as a character, isn't he? He has some really good strategy stuff in this chapter as well, I think. But yeah, it's the start of our reliance as Violet on Riddick.
Yeah.
There's an interesting exchange between Degrenzi and Kat when Degrenzi says the casualties are worse outside of the wards. And Kat says they always are. And that is the point, isn't it? You can't blame her for that comment, because even Degrenzi here, he doesn't care as much outside of the wards. And again, this comes back to the not being able to change the culture overnight. But it feels like Kat has a real point there. They're always worse outside the wards because there's no wards.
Yes, so this point for Degrenzi is very clear. The only reason that cadets have been sent to Samara is just because had been punished by Aetos, but he really doesn't give a shit about it. He said, I'm not going to send cadets to war. We are not in war right now, but even if that's the case, I won't send them anyway. So just go find a way to have a break and then just be useful. Obviously, he can see they're being tired after 20 hours fly. So he's just I can't deal with kids right now. Really,
I don't care what you do. He says, do me a favour and ask that dragon of yours to stay hidden. He's a massive target. So he's also pissed off with Aetos for sending the second biggest dragon on the continent to the post, because they know that that's Violet's dragon. He knows that she's a target. And it's such a stupid thing to do for Aetos. He doesn't care who else gets injured as long as Violet does. The fact that Theophanie later says, lucky I was in the vicinity when your dragon was spotted, just confirms Degrenzi's fear that is true. And that is an interesting thing, because that's going to follow Violet around forever now, isn't it? That as soon as somebody sees her coming, she's also a target.
Once they start to walking away, the gun start to ask to Violet, you've been here before, so do you know a place where we can stay, be safe, because everyone is looking at them. They're flyers between them, and obviously there's still this hate. And then Violet actually, yes, I like the perfect place. And
it makes me think of, young man, there's no need to feel down. There's a place you can go. You'll be safe there at the YMCA. Sorry.
Yes, but she said that even when he is hundreds of miles away, he's still protecting her somehow. And yes, they go to Xaden's old room when he starts to put everyone one by one, and they spend the night there all together. They have sleepover, as you said before.
Sleepover.
Yes, and it's here when Violet starts to have another nightmare.
The first time we see her signet in this book.
Yes, so we start to see weird things here in this nightmare. She's like looking for the picture of the family, a picture that's really important. Kat is there. Then she's telling to Kat that she need to go, she need to leave because he will choose her. She will turn into the Queen of Tyrrendor. So obviously it's talking about Xaden. And now it's...
Oh, she is, but yeah, I've got theories.
Yes, but obviously here we start to see it's like this weird thing that Violet will never do something like this. So obviously the dream is like really random, which I guess that is the intention. There's just a dream, but we don't know exactly that she is somebody else's dream from that room.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, this is the first time we've seen the signet in this book. We didn't know. Even at this point, you didn't suspect that she was having somebody else's dream. In hindsight, we know that this is Maren's dream.
Mm-hmm.
In hindsight, I think we get confirmation that this is a PTSD type dream of the Cliffsbane Academy attack.
Yes.
At the time, you don't know, though. You think it could be in the future. You think it could be... like, we've never lived through a moment like this. And it's weird to me because there's a few things. She says Queen of Tyrrendor, not Duchess of Tyrrendor. We don't know Maren's gift. Does Maren have some kind of gift that is no, I'm not talking about precognition, but like a similar thing to that. Or like a manifestation thing. I don't know what Maren's gift is, but Kat could very well become the Queen of Tyrrendor at some point. The he will choose you doesn't have to be Xaden.
Could be Bodhi, maybe.
Could be, or it could be, I don't even think it could be Auric. Could be a royal tie that way. I'm so interested to know what Maren's gift is. And this bit, just reading it, makes me think that there's something there. She's not saying the Duke of Tyrrendor. Why would she say the Queen? Tyrrendor isn't a kingdom yet.
Kingdom, yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I feel like she didn't say Xaden will choose you. She said he will choose you.
Yeah, leaving the door open to whatever it's going to be.
Doesn't have to be anyone. It doesn't have to be Xaden, does it? Maren could have some kind of gift for that. Knowing what people's...
future or something?
Yeah, not knowing the details of the future because it's not as strong as a signet. We know that gifts are their mind work.
Yeah.
And not as strong. But we know that Takaris knows what people want. Mm-hmm. What if Maren knows what people will become?
Yes.
Like their destiny. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, useless in battle, but still really good, like something as, I don't know, the one from Dane, for example, it's useful maybe for office jobs, or if they can tell that somebody's going to be a really important general or whatever, they can protect and make sure that it's going to be alive or something.
I don't think a title should make somebody more worth protecting than others, but we know in life that is true, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Someone would dive in front of the president, and not somebody else, which is...
Yeah, but I guess if you had a bunch of cadets and you know already which one is the one who will be general, because you see that, so you focus that one is going to actually survive, and they're going to be like, which is as well like maybe like a self
fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly, I was thinking about it.
Yeah, I like the dragon names and the signets that they manifest. The other thing it makes me think of this is, could that be the reason why Maren wasn't a total bitch to Violet? We know that Maren, her best friend is Kat. Kat hated Violet. Normally, if you're a best friend of someone, in front of people, you stick up for them and you do that, like, you defend them to the death. Mm-hmm. But behind closed doors, you might say, hang on, you're being a bit, like, over the top. But Maren calls her out in front of everyone. She doesn't just talk to her on the side. So does Maren know how important Violet is?
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to be on the right side of...
Yeah. That's not really interesting. Obviously, for me, the first time when I see this about Maren, I talk more about she was a strong character, that she has like a perfectly defined personality. They're not going to be defined by friendship. So that's how it should be maybe built for people to say. But maybe it's, like you say, maybe it could be something else. That's giving just little hints.
Yeah, to say, like, every single character that we meet and they're magically connected to either a griffin or a dragon, and we don't know what their gift or signet is. I'm always like, do we know whether that's personality or do we know whether that's a signet? And yeah, it's just a bit suspicious. So anyway, back to the dream. We know that this is the fall of Cliffsbane. Kat later does say we had to fight our way out of Cliffsbane, so it's linked in the same chapter. It's quite a traumatic scene. She talks about my family. She talks about she needs to find the photo of her family. This bit for me is weird because she is convinced it is Mira and Brennan. So she's not looking at the photo itself. She's just thinking, my family, I've got to protect my family. But we know that she has seen the photo because she recognises the two little boys, the twins, later on when she sees them in the flesh. So I don't know if it's just because Rebecca Yarros didn't want to make it too obvious that she was in somebody else's point of view at this point because she wasn't ready for the signet to be revealed. But there's a bit of an inconsistency there for me that she thinks it's Mira and Brennan in the photos, but she also recognises the boys later on. So do you think there's a reason for that, or do you think it's just because Rebecca Yarros wasn't ready to give us the signet at that point?
I think after so much time, people trying to get in the signet, what is it? I think Rebecca Yarros was just playing a little bit, like with the signet, just making a little bit longer, teasing a little bit. Like, yeah, you are maybe a few chapters already, and you still don't know what is gonna be the signet. So I think it's just her, like, obviously showing that she is just getting the signet. She doesn't know how to control it yet, so she is feeling all the stuff that Maren is living as her own, like, concern. So when watching the family, is here watching her family, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it's just Rebecca just like teasing a little bit about the signet.
There's also mention to a sweat-soaked pillow. She wakes up after this dream and the pillow is sweat-soaked. And then later, it made me laugh because I remember later in the book, Xaden writes her a letter when he's back at Samara. And he says, does my pillow smell of you? It's because she sweated all over it. It's gross.
Violet awakes. Brianna awakes as well. They start to have a little chat about dreams because obviously for Violet it's like, what the fuck just happened? I just saying the cat will be the queen of Tyrrendor.
And they're laughing.
Yeah, that's a really nightmare.
That's the real nightmare.
Yes. And then Redog is the one, you know that you're not talking as quiet as you think you are.
The cat's still asleep, so it's fine.
Yeah.
And Maren is still asleep.
Yes,
Isn't
so
it
she's still in the
interesting
dream.
that she wakes up from the nightmare, but Maren doesn't? Because if Maren had heard Violet say, I just told, she would be like, hang on, that's my dream.
Yeah.
And it would have worked out. So why did Violet suddenly wake up, but Maren didn't? Because normally in a dream, something happens and you wake up.
Yeah, but obviously it's Violet the one who is done with the signet, I guess.
Violet's obviously so terrified at the thought of Kat being the queen of Tyrrendor that's woken her up, whereas Maren isn't terrified of that. So
yeah, we don't know what happened after that. The Cliffsbane was attacked, so I guess she was still like going with the nightmare, just escaping. Yes, But then, yeah, they had to just wake up and then get ready, and they start to leave the run again. And they start to find some rider. They're talking there's been a new attack. This one is a new hole. And then Maren is listening, and then she is concerned because she has family there. And then is when she starts to find out that yes, they're being Venin attacking this area, and they're not going to do anything. Kat said, why? Because they're Paramish. And they said, no, because we only don't have the resource to give any help.
We're tired.
Yeah. Like, we can't do anything. If we go there, we just will die. So we'd rather stay alive.
And they're saying it's a little village, and in war you have to sacrifice some, which is awful.
Yes, the same when you're playing like chess, at the same with war. Sometimes you have to lose some pieces.
I know, but you can't really. You still, I get it, strategy and stuff, and they have to justify it. But it doesn't, like what I was saying before, one life is not. Maren's parents, who did not make it through this battle, are no less important than the people that live in a big city.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the casualty rate will be higher because if you wipe out an entire city, you wipe out more people, more parents, more children. But it's just, you can't really justify that in any way in moral terms. Rhys starts to talk about that we don't know the plan of attack. We don't know anything. We need to go and attack them. We need to go and fight. Riddick is saying, they're basically saying it's too much. And Riddick's saying, well, narrow the scope, narrow the mission. The mission is we go in and we get Maren's family. Mm-hmm. And this is character growth. This is like Riddick being serious. And this is him showing strategic thinking. And actually, not just strategic thinking, but just generally a good way to deal with anxiety. I think we can all learn from Riddick. Because we talk about things like, oh my gosh, I've got to make dinner. And if we're overwhelmed, we have to make dinner. We have to go to the fridge. We have to get the ingredients. We have to work out what to cook. You have to open the door and stare at the food, if you're me, and work out, like, just hoping that some idea will come to you, even though you've had a clear idea when you bought stuff. Anyway, I'm going on too much. But if you narrow that scope, and the scope is no one should go to bed hungry, then you don't have to worry so much. Like, this is only in a situation where you're really overwhelmed. Narrow the scope. Make sure people aren't hungry. And you just give them whatever is readily available in the fridge. You don't have to make an all singing, all dancing meal in a situation where you're overwhelmed. And I think that is really good life advice from Riddick Gamlin. The first of many in this book, I'll add. Anyway, in the end, ultimately, Rhys says, well, the Grenzi did tell us to be useful. And this is useful, so
let's vote and go. That was the end of chapter 9. Chapter 10?
Chapter 10. This is the first chapter that made me properly cry and really stressed. And if you would like to see the footage of that is now on Instagram for everyone to see. And I am ugly crying.
Also, the full video is on our subscription page. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yay! Oh, goodness me.
Yes, remember that we record the full reaction of Onyx Storm when we are reading the first time. So for the people that want to see that, obviously you need to subscribe and then you will see the whole thing.
Oh gosh, how embarrassing.
Yes.
If you do go and watch that, please do not tell me how it was. I don't want to see it again. Seemed like such a good idea at the time until I see myself ugly crying on Instagram. And everyone was like, what chapter was this? Was this when Andarna left? No. Was this when Quinn died? No. Was this when Mira got her throat slit? No. It was when Tan got knocked out by a tornado. And he didn't even, it was obviously not going to die, was he? He was obviously not going to die in chapter 10 of the third book.
Problem is that you never know with Rebecca Yarros that you expect no, she won't do something like this, but it's war, and then it's like you see it, it's like happening in the page, and then it's just like, oh my god, she's doing it, really?
Do you remember Rebecca Yarros had a story where her niece was reading Onyx Storm on holiday before everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like, oh my jeez. I think it's this bit that she was reading. I don't think did we ever get confirmation of which bit her niece was actually reading at that point?
No idea, because obviously this happened like a couple of weeks before release. So I don't know if they actually say which chapter was or
I might
anything.
send her a message asking which bit was it that she was reading. Because I think it was this bit.
Yeah.
That is a perfectly acceptable reaction for this bit. But my reaction was a bit less
Gosh, I
acceptable.
remember I was editing some episode of the podcast. I couldn't read it with you, and I was editing, and when I saw you crying that way, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna be next reading that book.
Yeah.
She's already like crying all of this. Like, I was nervous.
I was like, Rebecca! Right, anyway, let's get into chapter 10. Epigraph. Weather is the one great equalizer in battle, equally detrimental or favourable to both sides given the conditions. Without our wielders swaying that element to our advantage, we are at its mercy.
Mm-hmm.
Tactics, a modern guide to aerial combat by Major Constance Cara. This is a really, really clever epigraph because it doesn't just talk about... it talks about the great equalizer being weather. And it also says, but actually it's not equal because we've got our wielders.
Mm-hmm.
Major Constance Cara obviously didn't know about magic being the great equalizer, and there were being equally powerful weather wielders on the Venin side. So it's a really, really clever epigraph because it talks about the weather being the equalizer, but we're tipping it in our advantage. But actually magic is the equalizer because you've got Theophanie who can also manipulate the weather on the Venin side. It's very, very clever epigraph. Mm-hmm. The epigraphs in Onyx Storm are the cleverest of all three so far. I keep saying every week I think I pick at least one epigraph that's like, this is really clever.
Yes.
We know it's related to Lilith. We also know that storm wielders and wind wielders, and they're not, that nobody was as powerful as Lilith, but they're not rare. They're not uncommon because we had one in Erasure. We know that there are other ones around. The other thing I wanted to draw attention to here was that weather has been quite a theme, hasn't it, in the books. And when the squad stole the journals of Warwick and Lyra from the King's Special Archives vault, mm-hmm. there were some weather almanacs in the vault.
Yes.
And I just wondered what the significance of those might be.
Yeah, I was thinking that why you will keep like a almanac in the archives, but is it because maybe it's the only document where they actually can see like what is the real weather conditions in the continent when there's no storm wielders around manipulating everything?
It could be that the climate should be totally different. It could be that the climate should be more like Deverelli or Corden, where it's more tropical. Mm-hmm. Doesn't feel like it because you have the Emerald Sea at the north, which is like really rough and choppy. It does feel like you've got nice weather in the south, awful weather in the north, which is generally the way that it works, isn't it?
Yes.
In the northern hemisphere, at least, which we know the author is from. Yeah, I agree. I think maybe they're trying to hide the natural climate because you've always got somebody wielding weather.
Yeah, well, that would be like another question, like what is maybe the real weather conditions on a bar, or why they're like need to track an almanac to keep the weather.
Why do they need to hide it?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter about tracking it. Like, you understand what, because you track patterns to learn history, but why are they hiding?
You know, like, okay, this is the season when it's not going to rain, like when it's natural, but then when you see this raining every single day or constantly raining or snowing when you're supposed to wait for a dry season. So I understand that maybe that's like one of the reasons that, okay, this is not natural, something or somebody playing around with the weather. So I don't know if it's maybe like a guide to identify storm wielders or something like this.
Maybe. Or is it something to do with the fact that it's magic has changed somehow? Because the dragons used to wield from the sky and they no longer do. They wield from the ground. Or channel from the ground. And that's somehow changed the weather as well.
It's maybe magic starts to accumulate in the sky because nobody's channeling from that. It's changing.
It doesn't fit with the balance thing, does it? Anyway, there's something weird. Why would you be hiding a weather almanac?
Yeah.
I need to research more things.
It's something that I think will come in other books. Because Theophanie, she was a storm wielder in the end, so must be something about it.
Yeah. Another hint also about just how powerful Lilith was and the reason that Theophanie appears now is because she's gone. So I still think, I know that you think that Lilith's still alive, but I think this shows that she's not, because the balance is tipped in the Venin's favour at this stage. We don't know that yet because we think that, or we're about to learn that we think Theophanie is a lightning mother. But anyway. And just how much Lilith was doing throughout her career at Basgiath, or throughout her career everywhere. Because later in the book, if I remember this correctly, because I know that we're going through a reread and there's loads of stuff I don't remember, Lilith knew that Theophanie was stronger than her when she was 22. So was Theophanie at this point... I'm sorry, I think I'm just coming up with a theory in real time. So my brain, you can see the
gears turning.
20 minutes later. Right. So that was before she met Violet's dad, right? Hang on, something's coming. So Lilith knew she wasn't a match for Theophanie at 22. That means Lilith either knew Theophanie before Theophanie was a Venin, or Lilith already knew about the Venin when she was 22, which means she was the second year. So how did she know Theophanie in the second year? What happened?
I'm not sure how to put those two together because we will find out in I think it's in this chapter that Theophanie has been around for a long time. So we're talking about centuries maybe. So I don't know if maybe maybe in a mission or something she found out Theophanie because she started to wield storms, because we're talking that she will be in the second year, so she might be like better with her signet. And then Theophanie felt something different and he wanted to see who was doing this. And maybe that's how they met. They say that, she's a
So we're saying
well.
Lilith knew about the Venin and they didn't wipe her memory. And that's why they made her...
They keep her maybe in the inner circle of Basgiath.
Yeah, but as a cadet.
Yes, because she was maybe a really strong character. And they just let him live. Maybe they didn't tell absolutely everything, like all the secrets going on. But the same with Violet. Violet knows a lot of secrets now, and they just let her live.
Oh, everyone knows secrets.
Well, no, yeah.
So, the other thing that this makes me think of is Lilith was raging with Daddy Sorengel when she found out that he went to try and dedicate her to Dune.
Yes.
Did she know that she was a priestess or dedicated to Dune at that time? And that's why Lilith was so angry, because he was doing the same thing that had happened to Lilith's arch enemy.
We know that she was potentially a priest of Doom way before being a rider, I think, because she had a tattoo on the forehead.
I don't think she was ever a rider.
She had a signet. So I think the signet is just between the link between dragon and
We've
rider.
speculated that, but we don't know that.
So far we don't know. It's just because you turn into a Venin where you never link to dragon, if you will get a signet.
I don't see how you would, because then you would be tipped way in the favour of the Venin. It seems like the signets only manifest for Venin because it's the balance, isn't it? And if you had every single Venin with a signet, and you don't have scribes and like whatever.
That's what I mean. That's how maybe she born to a dragon, potentially an Irids or something. She got a signet. Maybe once she got a signet, she killed the dragon because she wants to be a god. She doesn't want to be just a powerful rider or a powerful wielder. But so far, I'm pretty much convinced that you only get a signet when you're born to a dragon.
Yeah. There are some amazing theories about Theophanie.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen one where they think she is a sibling of Lilith.
Mm-hmm.
One got dedicated to Dune, the other became a rider. She got really jealous. But I don't think so, because that doesn't tie up with the centuries old.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, which I totally do believe, is that she's actually Lyra, or one of the first six.
I was thinking that she could be one of the first six for two things. She had a signet, so for me that will turn her straight away into a former rider. The Storm Wielder, I was like, okay, that could be one of the first six. Is that signet that important? There's not been like a Storm Wielder for centuries, and Lilith was one of them, like Lilith Sorangel. Or it's just like rare, like Menders or Siphons, but it's something that still happening, which means that she can't be one of the first six, because that signet even put it in that like powerful signet, like distant wielder, shadow wielder, or lightning wielder, or rock wielder.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that the first six had all those signets.
Well, according with the books, the most powerful signets, they were together.
Yeah,
and
they walked
they were
together.
the first six.
Okay.
So for me, it's like, okay, then maybe she's not one of the first six, but she might be one of the people who live through that time. Because there's a reference about she being old. The tattoo faded in the forehead. When she's saying about like something we'll see soon. She's talking about mortals and how short the memory are. So that's the thing that made me think that, okay.
Yeah, I think she's definitely old, isn't she?
Yes.
I think she is like General Darramore type name, like time. Anyway, let's carry on, because there is some other.
Yeah, we need to get to like the specifics to talk about it. Yes. They decide to go to New Hall to rescue Maren's family, and then there's a comment from Violet when they're flying, and she said that I almost forgotten how wild magic feels beyond the walls, how accessible turns power seems endless. So I was thinking, okay, so obviously she feels the magic is different when it's out of the walls. Feel the magic different from Tarn. So is the walls like limiting the power from every single one as well, even dragons? So the rider don't maybe get too much because could be too much for them.
Yeah,
or
I
something
feel
else.
like the dragons could get corrupted, and I think that maybe is why they have bad breath.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that is weird is the fact that the word accessible is used. That feels like Venin speak to me. Like she knows it's there, and even for her, and she hasn't channeled once from the ground. And we know that a Venin, like Xaden, channels once from the ground, and then it's an instant addiction. There's nothing that's like an instant addiction, is there? Maybe social media. don't know, I'm thinking about drugs, like an instant addiction.
Mhm.
She says, Tern's power seems endless, deeper than the oceans. I've never crossed wider than the sky above us. Don't you think it's interesting that she uses deeper than the earth, or deeper than the ocean, deeper than something's on the ground, wider than the sky. She didn't use as high as the sky and as wide as the earth. So you can tell at this point that the dragons are channeling from the earth and not the sky. Because if they were channeling from the sky, she would have said as high as the sky. So if you're thinking about like depth and width, she's linked the depth to the ground and the width to the sky, not the depth to the sky and the width to the ground, which to me makes it really obvious that the dragons are channeling from the ground. We don't know that yet. We don't find that out really until the Isle Kingdoms, when we know they can't channel because there's no magic in the earth at that point. So I feel like that is on purpose. That is deliberate.
It's definitely, there's a play with the words here, and all the words they've been using is the word that we've seen before as talking about channel from the ground. So it's totally Venin reference. So yeah, I'm with you there. It seems like weird.
Yeah. So on the way, also we get some more sass from Tern, where she's like, straight ahead. He's like, yes, I too have eyes. Yes. Like,
yeah, and the one driving here.
Yeah, I think it just is like, that's what we know and love about Tern. So Rebecca gave us some sugar.
Yes, so when they start to getting close, they start to see that maybe there's some like smoke coming from the village from far away. They see some storm coming. They see as well wyverns coming. So they need to prepare for war. Violet is the one who straight away she grabs the conduit and starts to have Tern's power to hit the wyvern. And the first attempt, boom, wyvern down. So you can see now how good she's getting now with this lightning. With the second one, she missed, or she can't get in closer because it's getting really fast. And Tern is the one that he just do like pretty much like a backflip or something, and then with the tail bone on the head.
They're both as formidable as each other.
Yeah, it's just amazing because you imagine like this kind of dragon that size, and he like flying is the fastest flying. Well, maybe it's not the fastest, it's the longest, so it goes really quick. Said this about before. But he's the one who gets the second one. Then Violet, he's the third one again with the lightning. And when they think that, okay, we're having everything under control, is when they spot on the distance this woman with the silver hair. That at the moment they don't know who it is, but she recognized her as the woman who was in Baskaya trying to rescue Jack Barlow, and she is waving to them, so she knows that it's a trap.
We've not talked about this before. Why was she, and I'm going backwards, I'm sorry, we're going to be here all night, but why was she the one that was rescuing Jack? I think she was trying to steal Jack from Berwyn. She clearly does not like Berwyn. She thinks he's subpar, and she's saying the same things. Is she saying the same things to Jack as she's saying to Violet?
It's weird because I'm not sure that if she went there just to rescue Jack. I think she was there maybe getting other kind of information or something. Anyway. Yes, because in the conversation that we're going to have later on with Violet, there's a mention about when she was in Basgayath, and when she disappeared, it's just like too suspicious, because if she want to rescue Jack, Violet is no match for her. She will do it. She will just go for Jack, and there's no way that nobody can stop her.
Yeah.
But she didn't. So she was kind of like just doing a sneak peek.
And she just disappeared, didn't she?
Yeah.
She distance wielded.
Not sure how it works, because that's what I thought, because Berwyn can do it as well.
Yeah, that means there's two.
Yes, it's like
why is
actually
there
distance
only
wielded, or it's a Venin trick, because we see it with Dan, and that's why, like, one of the things that at some point I was saying Brennan is a Venin,
'cause he
because
disappeared.
it disappeared, like the same as the Venin.
I still think Brennan could be Venin. I do. So this is where 10 says, do not channel more than you yield. And we're supposed to think this means burnout. I think there's 3 things it could mean. It could mean burnout, because he's lost Naelin previously to that. Could mean Venin. Like, do not channel more than you willed, because you will turn Venin. It's very easy out here for somebody as powerful as you to accidentally take it from the ground. Could also be reminding himself to not channel more from the earth than he needs to give, because he could become corrupted. He could get stinky breath. There's such a funny piece of, like, art by J. Moon Jones, who's just really good on Instagram. She draws little cartoon dragons, and she normally does like Andarna teaching baby Andarna teaching all the other Feathertails stuff. And she's got little models of her riders. It's just really cute. It says that it's like 10 teaching Andarna to always floss between her teeth, because if she gets bad breath, the people on Reddit will accuse her of being evil. So good. And I was like, yeah, we are Reddit. We are those people. Yeah, I wondered if it was him actually reminding himself.
Yeah.
And not just Violet. Also, like, we don't know if Naelin turned Venin or whether Naelin burned out. There's a lot of speculation, and we've had it too, haven't we, that Naelin turned Venin. So it could be that, like, I've already lost one rider to Venin. I'm not going to lose another one.
Yeah.
So the wyvern flies straight at them. Its grey, leathery wings riddled with holes. Why are they riddled with holes? First question. And 2, why does it make me think of the hole in Kur's wings, Bodhi's wings at the end of the book? Is that another deliberate link between a dragon and a wyvern? Is that another nod to the fact that Bodhi is the one that turned?
Yeah, I definitely see it like a hint as well, but it's been built as dragons or wyvern, when they have like fights, they can get hurt, or something happen to their wings, like with something.
But why is that wyvern's wings riddled with holes? Riddled is probably my least favourite word in the English language. Riddled, it makes me think of worms. Makes me think of like, yeah, gross.
Yeah.
But anyway, riddled means all over the place, like everywhere, like full of holes. So like triggering people's trichophobia, where they're scared of like little holes. But why? And how is that wyvern still flying? If you have a kite that's full of holes, it will not fly. If you have a sailing boat with a sail that's full of holes, it will not sail. How is the wyvern still flying when its wings are riddled with full of holes? Anyway, I know that Kur at the end of the book has holes, I don't know, in his wing. And I just think there's a link there.
Yeah.
Where we're like maybe supposed to think.
That's...
10 says to Violet, if he removes the belt, he will unseat her over the river and let the meager gods sort her out. What is the deal with the dragons and their hatred of the human gods? What is the deal with that?
I was thinking that it's just from the dragon point of view, humans are just so insignificant for everything, and they put so much faith in the gods, but for them, gods is just another insignificant thing, like puny gods.
I think it's more than that. I think the gods have done something to the dragons. I think the gods maybe like metaphorically clipped their wings in some way, and the dragons don't like it, so they like are taught from a young age that we don't pay any reverence to those gods because they treated us badly in the past.
Yeah.
And possibly it's the gods' fault for the dragons being corrupted.
Yeah.
I'm so convinced that the dragons are not that good that I'm like talking about it like it's fact. We don't know that.
Well, it's definitely something dodgy going on in the Empyrean. I don't know if every single dragon of the Empyrean is like that. Well, no, because Andarna is part of the Empyrean, and we know that she is different.
We don't know that she's part of the Imperium. We don't know that they let her in.
She is the representative of the Seven Den, and
But there isn't a den.
In Navarre.
There isn't a den in Navarre, so do they really need her? They can't tell her what to do, but she's more like
a rogue one.
I don't know that she's actually in the Empyrean. Yeah, there's a bit of the in the Fables of the Baron, the old fable book, about how some of the stories demonize dragons, and I just have a feeling there's something there. So moving on, Violet sees Theophanie in the distance. I think she was expecting us, and this is where there must have been a reason. She later says that she was in the vicinity when the Morning Star tail was spotted. I think this might be the first time. No, you can correct me how many times I said it in our Iron Flame deep dive, but I am even more convinced that we're going to get to meet Malek at some point. Now, Violet says, "Oh, Malek, I am not ready to meet you yet." We're definitely meeting Malek, aren't we? I think it'll be book 4. I think we'll meet Malek. Or it could be right at the end, like the Dumbledore situation when...
Yeah, that she's gonna die and then something happened and then she does.
And Malek sends her back.
Yes. Yeah, I think if it's going to happen, it will be in the last book, and it's going to be like something really dramatic. Thing they make you think that Violet is dead.
Yeah. The only other thing I want to say before we get into like Garrick and Theophany arriving is that it really is pissing me off how much they're still babying Andarna. I said this last week. I said it the week before. I said it the week before that. When are they going to accept that Andarna is, yes, she's not fully grown, but she is a really terrifying dragon. She can breathe fire now. She can breathe fire stronger than any other dragon because it actually burns the venin. She is arguably more useful. Well, she definitely is at this moment in time because, in a minute when Tern gets knocked out. Yes, there's no signet there, but she is not unconscious on the floor. Why are they trying to send her home? I know that they want to protect her, but this is classic fourth wing Dane Aetos behaviour from Violet and Tern, just trying to protect the baby. And it's doing my head in.
Yeah, it's something weird because after all the situation where Andarna has been so useful, that just because she's not been listening, she pretty much has saved the day.
She knows exactly where she needs to be. She is stopping time, left, right and centre in fourth wing. She knows exactly where she needs to be. She is really good at hiding. Why are they trying to send her back to the outpost? It's just annoying.
Here is when a tornado is sent to grab Tern. So he is trapped in the tornado. They start just spinning around and then they hit hard, like part of the mountain. Then start to fall. When they're falling, Tern just move enough to make sure that it's not going to land on Violet. The Violet is going to survive. This is the part when we think that we lost Tern. That we start to say that even Violet say like, no, this can be our end. This can be that I don't feel his power anymore. She is powerless at this point. And Garrick appears from nowhere.
Well, she's like, there's Atrum, but the scorpion tail, hang on, wait, he doesn't have a scorpion tail.
Yeah.
It's not Atrum, it is Core. No, Crad.
Yeah.
Let's get those two mixed up.
So,
but he's knocked out by the tornado
as well. Both of them, both dragons. Garrick goes there to help. So that was our first hint that, he's a distance welder.
We were so sure he wasn't.
We just believe and say that.
Yeah, we shouldn't have fucking believed that he wouldn't lie, shouldn't we? I was like, I can't get past the plot hole because Xaden said he's never lied. And then Xaden...
So there's not been a distant welder for more than 100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the mistake. But He said that he never lies to Violet. We believe that. Otherwise, he will say that, no, I'm not a distant wielder. Simple as that. But why he has to say there's not been a distant wielder for...
Yeah, he went OTT, didn't he? He's just protecting his body. He's protecting his BFF.
Yeah, but again, why he's just saying, no, I'm not a distant wielder? He's still protecting Garrick because...
Because Rebecca wanted to plant the seed. She wanted to plant the seed.
Yeah, I know, red herrings.
I just want to talk about Garrick's demeanour at this point. Demeanour? Is that the right word? Yeah, probably. He is funny. He's still funny. Mm-hmm. He's like... Obviously, he's worried about Xaden. He's like, he's not himself. Your head is bleeding right above your skull from resin. And he says, good, I'd hate to destroy, or I'd hate to damage the other side of my perfect face. He's really cocky, isn't he? Especially around Imogen.
Yeah.
She says, don't worry about me. Nothing, a couple of stitches won't fix it. He's like tough guy, Garrick.
Yeah.
He's talking about Xaden. He's worried. And he's like, he's always prided himself on his self-control. He has to, when he wields that much power, so just another nod to how powerful he is, but he's got to control himself. I'm telling you, he lost it when he heard you were crossing the border, Violet. He's not himself. Is Bodhi babysitting him at this moment in time? I feel like he must be. Mm-hmm. Because he sent Garrick away. Somebody must be babysitting him.
Has to be Bodhi because he's the one who can counteract the shadows if they go under control, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Thought of that. Huh. Anyway, this makes me another thing. Tick number 2 in this episode of why Bodhi is the brother. Bodhi must be babysitting him. There's a nod at the end to the fact that he's watched him struggle.
Could be the part.
Bodhi is the one there that's watching him struggle. Could be Imogen. Imogen could be babysitting him, but I really love the point that you just made about how Bodhi being able to counter the signets. Well, the signets that he knows about. But I think this is where that comes into play, and Bodhi is the one that is literally watching him struggle because he's with him.
Yeah.
And he sent Garrick off to help Violet. Really good signet in it. We have done This weekend, we have travelled from the south of Spain to Scotland and then driven from Scotland to the middle of England. How useful would it have been on holiday, even though we absolutely nailed our baggage weight limits? We wouldn't even need to worry about it.
Yeah.
No,
take as much as you want.
Ryanair, small bag in the cabin only limits.
Yeah. We can take our dog as well, because if you can take a dragon with you.
Yeah, why not take the dog?
The whole family, yeah.
We wouldn't have needed to go to Scotland.
Yeah, I completely understand why
Rebecca... see my mum and dad, was nice.
Why Rebecca Jarrell said distant wielder would be like her favorite signet, because she can across all United States to visit the family that she has everywhere.
I have a really long commute as well. I could go to work in my office a lot more.
That's what you think? Work?
Well, I just was thinking about avoiding the
traffic.
I could get straight home.
Yeah.
I could get straight to work.
Yeah. It would be like those guys from that movie, Jumpers, I think it's called. You just think about a place and boom, jump.
Yeah. It's like apparating in Harry Potter. And it's like winnowing in the Akatar series. Right,
so yes, Violet is having a discussion with Garrick, and then Garrick thinks that Violet is getting angry with him because there's like a lightning, and he was like, she is like, calm down, woman. There's no for that. Not literally saying like that. But then Violet like, it wasn't me. And then Theophanie is the one who appears from behind, and then it was me. And then it's like, oh dear, she is a lightning wielder. It's the first of the days comes to Violet. She trying to get Terrence power that he's still unconscious, but she can't do it. She still had no like that connection with his power. And this is the thing that made me think. It's just because he's unconscious, but doesn't mean that when he's sleeping, doesn't mean that she doesn't have power?
Yeah.
How it works.
We've talked about this before, haven't we? Yeah. And when they block them out, do they not have power, or do they always have some power? I don't know. It's really interesting. Weirdest thing for me is that he's unconscious. She's still got access to Andarna's power. but she can't use the signet fueled by Andarna's power. However, later in the book, when Andarna's connection gets severed, in air quotes, because I don't believe it does, she can use the dream walking signet without Andarna's power. So why can she use Andarna's power fueled by Tern, but she can't use Tern's power fueled by Andarna? My suspicion is that it depends who bonded them first. Theophanie is wearing purple robes. Did we ever work out what these robes' colours meant?
No, because from the beginning I thought purple means maybe like second rank, and then blue is like general. But then she says that Berwyn is basically like under her level, or she says something like
I don't think so. I think
good.
they're like similar rank. I get the feeling that they're the same, but she just thinks he's rubbish at his
better.
job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she thinks he's not very good. She says he's subpar.
Yes.
Right, Theophanie says some things here. She says, our paths are too intertwined to begin with such hostility. Why are their paths so intertwined? Dune?
That's one of them, I think. The other thing could be because she is Lilith Sorangel's daughter, and there was some beef before.
Yeah. There's lots of intertwining connections. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she says, I'm Theophanie, by the way. Seems only right that you know my name, seeing as I know everything about you, Violet Sorengel. So, how does she know everything about Violet Sorengel? There is still a theory flying around that she is Violet. She is Violet's past, she is Violet's present, she is Violet's future. I mean, it's not really the case, is it? Because she's not a lightning wielder. She is a storm wielder. So she's Lilith. But it's really, really interesting. Because you know how the high priestess on the Isle of Dune's Island, the war island.
Mm-hmm.
When we get to that, I will start to learn the names of the islands. She says that Violet's path has not been set yet, and one tiny decision could mean that she could go either way. I don't know whether it's one potential future, but the fact that she's been around for centuries makes me think she's not a Violet from the future. But interesting theory.
Yeah, I find that interesting, but I don't believe it.
Yeah, same. Right, so another interesting theory about Theophany. This one is from the Mother on Reddit, and the Mother has some like really, really good, wild theories.
Mm-hmm.
This one is not a theory, though. It is just a fun fact that she wanted to share. So, just wanted to share a fun fact. I saw people posting that the name of Theophany comes from the Greek Theophany, manifestation of God. So it means a physical manifestation of a god, which is interesting in itself, and we can go down a rabbit hole. There was also an empress of the Holy Roman Empire, Theophanu, who was nicknamed the Empress of the Apocalypse. She was the only Roman consort to receive the title of co-empress and is considered a formidable ruler by many historians. I also, like Theophany, I had recognised the word as an event, you know, like equinox and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, well, Theophany is in Orthodox Christianity, so Greek Orthodox, I believe. It's an event that marks the manifestation of God as the Holy Trinity, so the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, providing like a profound revelation of divine truth that resonates with believers. So it stands as, like, apparently, it stands as a pivotal moment where heaven meets earth. And this, again, is like sky, ground, the meeting point between the two. It's a link to a god. She is obviously linked to a god. She also says later in the book the reason why she's no longer a priestess, or she's no longer on the path to Dune. She says, why worship a god when I could be one? And that is another link to Theophany being some physical manifestation of a god.
Yeah.
Just so interesting. There's obviously a reason why she's called Theophanie. Whether she's given it that name to herself and she's actually Violet from the future. I'm going to run through like a few theories that I've read now because I'd got into a bit of a rabbit hole. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Emiego on Reddit says that to turn Venin is to dedicate yourself to Malek. So we've got Dune, got Theophanie dedicating herself to Dune. We also have Violet being partially dedicated to Dune, like touched by Dune, but also Malek has her favour. So Emiego says, in Onyx Storm, we learn that Violet's father had her partially dedicated to Dune, goddess of war. From the information gleaned, we can infer 3 things about dedication to a god. It involves a change in physical appearance. That explains Violet's half silver hair. It explains Theophanie's full silver hair. It grants you power. This was inferred in Onyx Storm, but still kept vague. We're likely to find out what manner of power Violet receives from Dune in future books. You feel an uncontrollable pull and longing when speaking to Violet about her partial dedication to Dune. The High Priestess says that, but she says, but do you not yearn for the temple? Usually the touch creates such longing that you can't help but return. So it's like a yearning and a return. So you can apply the same things to Venin, says Emiego. So 1, turning Venin involves a change in physical appearance. You've got the eyes. 2, turning Venin grants you additional power. And 3, you feel an uncontrollable pull or longing. So those things that being dedicated to Dune are exactly the same as being as being Venin. What Emiego was trying to say is that actually the way that you dedicate yourself to Malek is by turning Venin. There's also links between, there's definitely quotes that say Malek collects souls. What do Venin do? They kind of give away their soul. So do they give their soul to Malek in a different way? And they become his servants because they're living. He's got their souls, but their body's still living. Really interesting. This paints Malek as like the real bad guy, like Hades. But there's a counter to it in that actually they could be really pissing Malek off because their souls are not being commended to Malek. The souls are being commended to the earth, so he's not getting them. But also the fact that like the underworld and the afterlife is always kind of associated with the ground, like being buried in the ground. And I know that you've got heaven and hell, but something about Malek makes you think that it's downwards. I don't know. I really love that theory. Because there are such links between being dedicated to Dune and being dedicated to Malek. And what does that mean for Violet?
It's interesting because we were talking before that maybe Violet was just half dedicated to Dune because maybe she was half dedicated to Malek or another god.
She was already dedicated to Malek,
Yeah.
so Dune wouldn't take her.
Yeah, so we hopefully will find out more in book 4 if we can see another where they can dedicate people to another gods. We haven't visited the island when
Loyal.
what's
Love.
everything about Malek as well.
No, yes, I don't know if there is one. There's the Bay of Malek. I think for a while we thought that the island she hadn't been to was the Malek one. But actually it was Loyal. They the god of love.
Yes.
They make a reference to the fact that they're not going to that, or they're going to go to that island next.
Yeah.
There's the Bay of Malek, which is in the Barrens, which is another link to the fact that Venin could potentially be linked to Malek.
Yeah.
Because the Bay of Malek is between Corden and the Barrens. It's just too many neat things, isn't there?
Yeah.
But the question is why? Well, there's so many questions. Why did Daddy Sorrengail take her to be dedicated in the first place? He thought she was going to need it. Maybe it was because he knew, because if we know that Lilith knew about Theophanie when she was in second year before she met Daddy Sorrengail, maybe he thought Lilith is no match for this woman. I'm going to go dedicate her to Dune so that she will be the match for her. But then at that point, he thought she was going to be a scribe. So that doesn't make sense either. So many questions. Why did he go and try and dedicate her to Malek? Or we don't know that he did. We just know that Malek favours her for some reason. Which is another reason of maybe why this theory about Venin being dedicated to Malek isn't right, because why would Malek favour the one thing that would destroy the Venin if the Venin were actually his servants? But we're going to meet him, so it's all going to be fine. And it's going to be Naelin.
Here we go. Took a while. Well, he's back.
Naelin is Malek.
Feeling better?
Right, we can get back to Theophany now. After that little detour, but I thought it was a really cool theory.
Yes, so Violet is saying that the suggestions that this woman is doing that reminds her a lot of the Duchess of Maren. And I was thinking, is there maybe any kind of hint about this? Because we think that, yes, maybe Theophany could be somebody from long time ago, but it could be she's part of the Maren.
I think this is the biggest hint that she's actually Lyra, because Lyra is from Maren.
Yes.
Also, we find out in the next epigraph, which I know we're going to go into, we find out Lyra's surname, and I'm just going to keep you hanging on what the surname means. I know that's random, but there's a big hint that Theophany is related to Lyra. Or is Lyra, but she's only calling herself Theophany because she has come back as a god. Did she resurrect somebody, like Kaori says? It's not the first time they've been linked together. She had the rubies and the sword, and rubies, like the Duchess of Maren has rubies. There's something relating to Maren, isn't there?
Yeah. I don't think she is Lyra, but definitely somebody related. Maybe friend, family, but same year. And that's why she has been like for centuries. So we found out here that she was basically building a trap for Violet to attract her. She killed Maren's parents. She didn't want to, apparently, but the parents started to be like really annoying, so she just killed them. And then she sends Gary's signal as well, and that's something that I found like curious, because she maybe can tell what is the signal of the person that she has in front, or maybe she saw her coming from the sky and the dragon just appearing from nowhere, and she knows
I think she probably
how
saw
distance wilder works.
I think she probably saw him,
because she knew what was her signal. And that's why I was wondering, can I actually sense the signal, or when she was on the ground, so that this man with the dragon just appeared from nowhere?
I think she probably saw him.
Yeah. And another reference that may be because she was with a distance wielder before, maybe with the first 6, she knows exactly what signal is. So it's nothing strange for her.
Yeah.
She knows the Violet is unique because never been a case when a writer has 2 dragons. And something that she's really interested in is she says to Violet, now tell me, which choose you first, the one who gives the power of the sky or the Irids? So this reminds me something that Leotan, the dragon, the Irids, will meet in other chapters, says to Andarna, the dragons choose the gift they're going to give it to the riders, and then they were having this conversation like, what? No, dragons can't do that. I think it was Rita, the one he's saying that it's not how it works, but it's coming from an Irids, so they might know things that we don't know. And when she said the turn gift her with that power, it's kind of like he chose her to be like lightning wielder or power wielder or something.
I don't know. I don't remember that. I'm gonna have to read that bit again. I think it's that she gifted. I think it might be that Irids gift it, and that's why Violet can still use it.
This is the end of the chapter. The chapter is asking who chose you first, And the beginning of the next chapter, she's going to say that sentence that we remember from Tern, step aside, silver one. So it's, Tern was the first one who chose her. But I believe that actually was Andarna, the one who chose Violet first. And my proof is going into Fourth Wind, chapter 10, because there's a part when she is looking at the gauntlet and she is like thinking that she's not gonna make it. She's just too small to do it. So like physically she can't do it. It's not possible. And then she has this little voice telling her, but you already made it this far. And the Violet's like, there she is, the little voice that's been reading my shoulder lately.
Oh my god! It's such a good theory.
So I think this is Andarna talking to Violet. She doesn't know because she doesn't know how it works the bond. It's the first time that maybe she can hear the dragon talking. Maybe at this point, Andarna is in the veil and maybe it's like just coming really subtle. So subtle that Violet in is heard.
Yeah, and she's never known what it's like to have a voice in her head.
Yes.
Yeah, oh my god. I love it.
Yeah, I think that is the thing that is going to come to the twist, that we believe that Tern was the first one, but actually it's Andarna, the first one to bond Violet.
Yeah, convinced.
Yeah.
So I do think that is also a reason why Violet can still use the signet when Andarna's gone, because she's the one that bonded her first. I immediately want to go back and read and see when that little voice, because it says that little voice has been there lately. So it's like a very recent thing.
Yeah.
Also says the one that gifted you the power of the sky, or the Irid.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it interesting how Tern didn't gift her the power of the sky? Actually, the Irid did, because the Irid is the one that channels from the sky.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously that shows what Theophanie doesn't know. So she doesn't know that dragons channel from the ground. And she doesn't know that Andarna channels from the sky. Right, so another amazing... I'm sorry, I'm going in a Reddit rabbit hole tonight. Koaku45 on Reddit had this amazing connection just from an accidental Googling of the word Irid. You know how Riddick says, do you think they're called Irids because they're iridescent? And they're like, yeah, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Well, according to Google, that is not the case. So Koaku45 has told us that iridology is the study of the iris and how the iris changes colour, and that shows you that something is not right with your body. We were assuming that it was just because they were iridescent. But irid's also another word for iris. There is such a big theme throughout the book around the colour of eyes and how Violet's eyes change colour. Sometimes they're hazel, sometimes they're blue. Yeah. And that is normal for hazel eyes to look like they change colour. So they go on to say that the role of an iris is to control how much light goes into the eye. Mm-hmm. And that could be the role of the Irids, in that we know that they can do so much more. They can break bonds, they can bend magic, and they can kind of channel directly from the sky. Much kind of like the iris controls the light that's going in the eyes. Anyway, the link to iridology and how the changing colours of your iris mean something, and the word irid, iris, I don't think that irid means iridescent. I think it means it's related to iridology, and this is certainly like some really clever investigation.
Yeah. Okay, chapter 11.
Chapter 11. Let's start with the epigraph. So, in the hope and excitement this new development of the bonds between dragons, griffins, and their humans brings, I wonder who has stopped to contemplate the nature of magic's balance. Do we not risk the equal rise of the powers we seek, of the very powers we seek to wield? Recorded correspondence of Nirali Ilan, Commanding General, Cliffsbane Fortress, to Lyra Mikkel, Deputy Commanding General, Basgioth War Camp. Right, so this is the first flyer, one of the first flyers, talking to one of the first riders.
Yeah.
We know that this is so she's a commanding general, Cliffsbane Fortress. It's not Cliffsbane Academy, it's the fortress. And Basgayath War Camp. We know that Lyra is the only one that's communicating with the flyers because she is trying to give them refuge in Tyrrendor. She believes that the safety of the wards should extend, that everyone should have them. So she is communicating with Nirali in secret. I think we can gather that, can't we? Lyra is the deputy commanding general. She is not the commanding general. Do we think that's Warwick? I think it probably is Warwick because we know that he got his way.
Yeah, he's the one who's taking the decisions even when she's not agree. So probably he's the general.
Yeah. This is the first time that we got Lyra's surname. Yeah. So Lyra Mikkel. Mikkel means, the name of the origin means who is like God. So that is the other link to Lyra and Theophany. Theophany means a physical manifestation of a god. Mikkel means who is like God. There has to be some link between Lyra and Theophany. Not just because of the name, because of the link to Maren, because of the age of Theophany.
Yeah.
There is some link there. Although what that link is really hard to work out because Lyra, for all we know, is the good one. Theophany is not. I really like this. I really like that it's a bit more of a snippet of those communications. The fact that Jacinia has her hands on this means we will hopefully at some point have our hands on some kind of journal. That could mean that it's in Lyra's journal. She wrote it. Or where is it? Where is it from? Perhaps it's at the Queen Mariah's library because she's got all of the old history of the flyers.
Yes, because we need to remember the Violet still had access to the library of Queen Mariah, so we don't know exactly what else we're going to get from that even after she passed away.
This is a different one of the first flyers to the one that they go and get the necklace from, who is called Amelia later in the book. So we're starting to expand the world of the first riders, the first flyers.
Yeah.
We know that the first riders came at the same time as the first flyers because it says with this new advancement of gifts. So we know that the first 6 riders bonded at the same time as the first flyers. We don't know how many there were, but we know there was at least 2, Amelia and Nirali. And the whole premise of this epigraph is talking about the balance, and they saw it coming. But why has it taken 650 years to actually happen?
Okay, so we start the chapter with Theophany wants Andarna. It's not just Violet. She's really interested in Andarna. So Violet's telling to Andarna that she needs to go away back to Basgayath when she will be safe. Again, just treat her as a baby. Yes. So we had a reference here when Theophany said that when she was in Basgayath, she heard some of the scribes whispering about the 7th den. And then she says to Violet, "You truly don't know what she is, do you?" So I was wondering, obviously she knows about the Irids, and we don't know what else they can do. We start to just figure out stuff they can do in this book. But do we actually think this all the thing they can do, or maybe there's more?
Oh, there's going to be more. Yeah. There's going to be loads more. I think we'll learn it in the next book. There's a big question of why Andarna came back. I think because she sensed the bond wasn't broken and she couldn't be away from her. So she suffered just like Violet suffered because the bond actually was not broken. The thing that I want to know is Theophany says, "Pity I had to leave so abruptly." She had to leave Basgayath. How long was she there for to hear them muttering? She wasn't there just to rescue Jack. She left after that situation.
Yeah,
But how long was she there for?
And why she had to leave again?
Why should just go back to the scribe quadrant and pull her hood up?
Yeah. So we don't know if she was from the beginning with the other Venins, part of the whole thing, or if she was there since maybe Lilith died, when she started to see there no like more war coming against. So she was like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So it's here when we see this part when Violet is confused about all the stuff that she's saying, and then Theophanie said like, oh, these mortals had this like short memory. So we talked about it already, that we don't know how old she could be.
But we think she's like first 6.
Yes,
Well,
from that generation at least.
Definitely before the Irids left.
Yes, when they were like a common thing for all the knowledge for other people. And that's the thing that she's offering to Violet as well, that she needs control, the power that she has, and she needs knowledge as well. And she had part of that knowledge. But here is when Terrence start to waking up, and then it's when Tiffany start to maybe call the Wyvern to pick her up. But then she said, okay, when the time comes, you need to like choose me as your teacher and not Berwyn, because then if you choose Berwyn, you will be under his control and you will be powerless. So does this mean that Xaden right now he's just powerless? There's had no control about what he can do or not.
So there's 2 things it could be, I think. One, that you literally can't disobey your sage, the person that brought you in. I don't think it's that. I think it could also be a hint that, and Rebecca Yarros did say there's only one person in the continent that could teach Violet about her second signet. I think this might be... So we know that Violet can go into dreams and manipulate the outcome. I think ultimately she's going to be able to do that in the daytime as well. So outside of dreams. And I call this a mind walker. So I've said I don't refer to her signet as a dream walker. I should, because that is what it's called in Onyx Storm. But I am convinced that that she's a mind walker. And I think Berwyn can do that too. I think Berwyn is that one person on the continent that can teach her about her signet. And I think he can enter your mind and he can manipulate your actions. And I think that might be the reason that she thinks that she'll be powerless against him. But I don't think she would be powerless against him. I don't know what Theophanie's game is and why she doesn't like Berwyn. But I think we know that Berwyn is also very, very old. Or at least the sage that spoke to her in her dream that said, join me and live beyond the ages. I've waited centuries for a power like yours.
Yeah, but that wasn't Berwyn.
Was that not Berwyn?
We still don't know which one was that one, because that's the one who was wearing maroon.
I think they just wear what they want to wear.
Well, this is the one that I think that is going to be one of the first 6. So we don't know if it's going to be Daramore or one of the first 6.
Yeah, Warwick or Daramore.
Yeah, so we're talking about before the fashion
so
of the
Berwyn
purple.
Different then?
Berwyn was in the other 2 dreams. So Violet has 3 dreams in Iron Flame. The first one, the very first one, is the one that we think is one of the first 6 or one of that.
So Berwyn has to be Xaden's granddad then, right?
Yes, we think could be, because the reference of sweet red and the skin as well.
Yeah, but wouldn't he react more to Sigale at the end of the book?
Well, Venin's trying to kill their own dragon, isn't it? That's what Jack did.
Yeah, but he would be like... She would say something, he would say... So surely there would be an exchange of information there. Be like, you...
Maybe they're still talking. So for them, it's not that shocking being together. Because that connection is still there. That's why we thought in the very beginning that if he was like a former rider, there's like a link to Xaden's mind as well.
Yeah, but it turns
out that bond.
I think he's just a mind walker. Yeah, I'm sorry. I've probably made more confusion on this piece of the conversation, but thank you for explaining that to me. Yeah, I don't know. But I do think that this is another hint to the fact that Berwyn is the one that could show Violet how to use her signet. And we know that Rebecca Yaros has said that we've only seen 10%.
Yeah, it's something that I give you about this mind walking thing is, as I said in one of the previous episodes in Iron Flame, when Xaden is talking with Violet and Berwyn is going down, Xaden is not even looking to Berwyn, but then when he's getting closer, he's like, he can feel it, that he is coming closer. So he just flinch. And I think at this point, I said before that maybe it's Berwyn talking to him. So maybe it's just appearing in the mind or like a bone connection or something. But something happens here that's calling Xaden's attention.
Yeah.
So Ten awakes and he's looking at Theophanie. And then it's in that moment when the Wyverns arrives and takes Theophanie as well. So she leaves and they're alive.
But she leaves so quickly, it's really random. Why does she leave so quickly? She's literally just plucked off the ground by a wyvern and she's gone. And then she said, it's a pity I had to leave so abruptly to the last time. She's like making a habit of it. Why does she need a wyvern when she can just disapparate?
I think she's just playing with Violet at this point. Like she's wanting to get close. That she trying to make it look like I could kill you anytime, but it's not what I want.
And she wants Andarna. Andarna's not there, so it's not worth her time. But it's odd.
Yes. Then, Ten is full awake now. Violet is relieved, even talking, and you're fine. Yeah, I know, disease. Weather is not just going to kill me. That's maybe like the first hint that we had. Maybe Theophanie, it was something else, not just
Yeah,
about the
not
weather.
lightning or weather.
We had the confirmation about Garen's second signet, and Violet asked to Gary that he needs to leave, even when he doesn't confirm that he is actually a distance welder. He's trying to avoid the questions. Even Violet saying that he's just like Satan. Gary is there helping Violet grabbing the daggers there on the floor. Then Violet's trying to get more information about him, but he's just trying to touch in the questions. And then is Violet the one who is telling like, you are a distance welder, because that's the only explanation. She called you a walker, and you came from Vazgaya in just a couple of minutes. And then she is about to say like, the last time that distance welder had been.
Yeah, she says, the last time there's a distance wielder, and it's like, ... And he cuts her off immediately. He says, I didn't say I was a distance wielder.
Yeah.
But she was going to say something. When was the last time there was a distance wielder? Was it the first 6? And was it Warwick? This sounds really naff, but Warwick kind of rhymes with Garrick. Are we supposed to put them together? My theory is that Warwick was the distance wielder.
Violet asking to leave so they can keep the secret. So yes, he just leave with the dragon in one step. He's in Basgayat. And Violet, 20 hours later, she is in Basgayat. And
they rescued the family. They rescued the boys, didn't they?
Yes. But we see the turns taken back to Basgayat. Brennan's waiting for her because they know already what happened.
Andarna told Mob.
And Brennan is there waiting for her with some iron meat. Apparently something that's coming from narration. They will help Violet and it's illegal. And we're like, what this could be? It's not going to be like the Choran or...
Do you not remember?
No.
Ironment plays a massive role. So Ironment, you're not allowed to take it out of Erasure because it looks just like normal mint. But it makes tea and it's really dangerous if it's mixed with...
Oh yeah, this is the... stuff that he told in the island.
Yeah, that's what she poisoned Xaden's mom with.
Yes, true. Yeah, I remember now.
So that's the first hint. That's like that you're not allowed to take it anywhere.
Yes,
but also that it's really useful, and Brennan knows how to use it.
Yeah.
Brennan is a master, poisons master and antidotes master, isn't he? And so is Violet. So it's just a nice. There's nothing other than that's the first snippet of information that we hear about Aaron Mint.
Yeah.
Also, Xaden smells of mint, and it's a link to Tyrrendor.
So Brennan is there healing Violet, and at the same time the squad arrives as well. Rhea is the first one to say hello to Violet, really happy they made it. And then we see Maren arriving with the two brothers, the two twins. They're alive.
Are they 8?
They're like 7, I think.
7. Almost.
Yeah.
Like our little boy. I mean,
Yes.
he's 8, but like, just imagine.
That's an age, yes.
So sad.
And they're not the only ones that arrive here. General Aetos arrives as well, and it's just looking for trouble. Like,
Oh my god.
you are here. You are like
baby tantrum.
Yeah. They just like no following orders, and Ren is like, "Well, we are following orders from
you and from De Grenzy."
Yes, and she said, "Well, Violet has been hurt. That's what you wanted. So your punishment is just over." And Grey Dog is the one, and we do it again and again
And he puts
and
his feet
again
on the table.
Yeah,
Normally,
not giving a shit about it.
Yeah, I noticed before that when Riddick puts his feet on the table, Ree tells him off. She didn't this time.
True.
He always puts his feet on the table.
Because it's like something that's really unrespectful thing to do. But with Aetos, everything is allowed.
Yeah, literally no one gives a shit about Daddy. I'm not a Daddy Aetos.
Yes, even he can tell because he get like a little bit like flush and like, excuse me, cadet? Like put in his place. And Violet like, well, you heard it. They will do it again because we are the squad with you all together.
Do you know, I imagine that, like, you know the soldier that's always chasing after, what's his name? After Bugs Bunny. What's the
soldier?
Yeah, the guy that's always going after Bugs Bunny and he's bald and he's like with his gun. And
in Spanish we call it Elmer. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Elmer.
Elmer?
Elmer Fudd.
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of him. Like incompetent. Nobody's always like stamping his feet and he's like, nobody takes him seriously. Bugs Bunny's like tying his gun in a knot. That kind of thing. Reminds me of that.
He sees Brennan as well, and then, what are you doing here? I survived, you shouldn't be here. And then he's just like, it's Sorangale. So, back to Brennan Sorangale. First thing that we see the official now.
Yeah, he listened to Mira. They had an angry fight, didn't they?
Yes. So, Violena today, he has a new tag on the uniform, and it's, Sorangale again. And then he said, well, something interesting that he's a man there and he can be in any place, and even if that wasn't in the codex, he would just not give a shit about him because he's not in his line of command.
Yeah, I think there's hopefully that's going to come back. Like Brennan's allowed to go wherever.
Yeah.
But also it's a bit like I'm not a massive fan of Nolan. Where's he been snooping around?
I guess there's anywhere when they need somebody or something to be manned, so they just have like granted access to everything. But they need like an excuse to go. It's not just like, and I'm in there, I can go to that, guys.
Yeah, I think they can go anywhere to mend anything, can't they? Or anyone.
I'm mending the books of the Arkham because they're really old. Maybe. That would be like a good restoration thing, isn't it? Just keeping like brand new. Just mending all the time against age.
Might have like a scribe might fall off a ladder in a library. Hopefully they do train like working at height training.
Yeah.
And manual handling training. They might put their back out carrying all those books around. And obviously they're in the healer's quadrant.
Yeah.
And then the infantry get wounded a lot, so they'll be there too.
We start to see there's like everyone is here against Aetos. Nobody is afraid of him. Whatever he's trying to do is just like it's not working. He tried to get rid of the 2 children and then said like, no, now they're going back to Tyrrendor where they belong because now they're terrorist citizens. Like, since when? Or who say so? Oh, I say so. So, from now. And, okay, now you two, you had to just leave because I don't want you here. You had to go to the...
He's taking them to the eastern, so he's taking back to Samara, basically. One thing, though, this links back to an epigraph, and Lyra says Tyrrendor will be that safe haven for Braxton's flyers and for the people of Pormil. But Lyra is from Moraine. But you've got basically in history repeating itself in that Tyrrendor was supposed to be the place that would take in the refugees from Boromir, and it was Lyra behind that. But she's linked to Maren. So who was the first rider from Tyrrendor? And why was he in love with Lyra? Like, it's history repeating itself, isn't it?
Yeah. Aetos leaves because he can't get anything else from this. So the only thing that he got in, I think, is like really childish. Like, okay, so I'm going to, from my brand new office, they had like really nice views. Just say something to annoy Violet and Brennan. He leaves. Once Brennan finished with Violet, then Xaden's like saying, okay, everyone out.
He's so rude, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I said there. He's just like really rude. Like a Xaden in real life will be like really rude person.
Yeah, get out.
If you're not Violet, you are just...
Yeah, piece of shit on a shoe.
Yeah, very much. But here, everyone is like, oh shit, we need to leave because Xaden had like that look. Even Violet's thinking like she's in trouble with him. But once everyone leaves, she was like, oh, come on, you can be serious that you are like angry with me. And then we finished the chapter with a kiss.
Mm-hmm. So that is the end of the history class for today. That was a really, really long section. So moving on to Oryx auguries. So this is a part of the show where we just recap our favourite theory from this week.
Mm-hmm.
What was your favourite theory?
For me, my favorite theory about this chapter is that Andarna was the first one to tell to Violet, the first one to create that bond from way before 10 even appeared there.
I love that. I love that you brought receipts way back in chapter 10 of Fourth Wing. Yeah, I'm going to go back and have a look at some more examples of that. Mm-hmm. You have set me off. I have a few favourite theories this week, but picking one is probably the one where turning Venin is dedicating yourself to Malek, second exchange of a soul.
Yeah.
And actually that the Venin are Malek's. I don't necessarily think it's true because Malek likes Violet so much, but I do think it's a really cool theory.
Yeah.
So sticking with the theme of precognition, shall we just take a quick look at the epigraph for chapter 12 next week?
Yeah.
You might be angry when you realise I didn't wake you up to say goodbye, but it's only because I no longer fully trust my ability to walk away. Recovered correspondence of His Grace Lieutenant Xaden Ryerson, 16th Duke of Tyrrendor to Cadet Violet Sorrengail.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not that much thing that we can think about or like go to double science or anything else. It's just obviously a love letter for...
Yeah, from Duke of Tyrrendor. Okay, let's enter the interrogation chamber. Mm-hmm. So last week, the question was, if you had to be dedicated to one of the gods, which would you choose and why?
Mm-hmm. I would choose, I think, Malek, because...
You're going to Venin.
Well, that's the theory, but I was thinking... From this question, from the beginning, I was thinking Malek. Then when you come with this theory, I was like, I'm not sure now. But my reason was because Malek seems to be the guy that is like everyone respect about. Like when somebody die, they need to burn the stake for Malek. So it's like the common
so you
god.
Wanted to be respected and feared.
Yes, that sounds amazing for me.
You're such a Slytherin. You're 100% a Slytherin.
True. Ambitious as well. Mm.
Yeah, and a bit mean. You're actually not mean at all. Well, maybe you are in your head. You just don't say stuff out loud.
Yeah. What about you? Who you will be?
Zanal, 100%. Zanal. He's my favourite. I do feel like I'm a lucky person. But again, we've talked about this, that luck is a mindset, isn't it?
Well, and you need to be grateful about everything. So when you are poorly, I'm not sure if you're grateful about it.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm unlucky. I don't feel like... I mean, I'm still... I'm pretty bad at being poorly, yeah. But I don't think that's related. I think he's just fun, isn't he? Just playing games.
Yeah.
It's really like Zanal. And everyone seems so happy on that island. This is just like...
This is another way to tell me that you want a cat, isn't it?
Broccoli. Yeah, I don't know why I was so confused about that. Of course. Yeah. You might not think you want a cat, but you need a cat. That's like broccoli.
Mm.
I really like the island, and everyone seems so happy, and like it's just a good mindset, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they say like one of the major Rorali's guide to appeasing the gods. She was like, I don't know why so many people worship Hadean. They should actually worship Zanal because people want knowledge, but actually what they need is luck. And Rhiannon said, I'd rather be lucky over good any day. There's loads of little snippets like that where like Zanal is the useful one.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else we're going to get from Zanal, but I feel like there might be a link between I know that I'm going down another rabbit hole here, but I think there could be a link between Zanal and Riddick. And Riddick got the kiss. Was he kissed by Zanal? He's nearly died several times. Like, he got arrows in Onyx Storm when they were going up the Madaro Pass. We thought he died. He got stabbed by the chef's blade, but he didn't because he was wearing all that padding. He was lucky. He's escaped death several times.
Yeah.
I feel like that kiss from Zanal was a
sign.
Yeah. He's in Zanal's favour.
Yeah.
This week, which part of the Empyrean world would you visit if you were a distance wielder?
Mm-hmm.
You've got a week to think about it.
Yeah, that's another interesting one.
Yeah. That brings us to the end of the show. So don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Faithfully Fantasy Pod if you're not already doing so. We now offer exclusive content through subscriptions on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Supercast via our website. There's so many options. There's definitely something for everyone. We're most active on Instagram, so be sure to join the conversation and connect with us there.
And with this, we had just one more thing to say. Thank you for listening to Faithfully Fantasy,
the husband and wife podcast talking all things Onyx Storm.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you next week with more theories, more deep dives, and of course, with more Faithfully Fantasy.
Bye!